It's time to learn how to make selections in Photoshop. And what we are going to use to learn that is a set of files that I have created for you. They're under Class Files, 3A Selection Files. Click there and you will find a set of files. And let's just open all of them. I'm going to open all of them right here. So we're going to learn how to make selections. And in order to make selections, you use selection tools. Let's look at the Quick Workspace. In the Quick Workspace, there is only one selection tool right here, Quick Selection Tool. Quick Selection Tool is really, really powerful, but it can't do everything. If you jump over here to Expert Mode, you have 3 selection tools, including the Quick Selection Tool. And with the combination of these 3 tools, you can select anything. Let's look at them. The rectangular marquee tool. Click on that, and not only do you have the rectangular marquee, but you have an elliptical marquee. The lasso tool, you have the lasso tool, the polygon lasso tool, and the magnetic lasso tool. The magnetic lasso tool was actually replaced by the quick selection tool. I think it's still in the menu because there are some holdouts that seem to like it, but I would never use this anymore because the quick selection tool does a much better job. Let's look at that quick selection tool. And when I click on the quick selection tool, I actually have 4 tools. Quick selection, selection brush, magic wand, very useful, and a refine brush. So the other thing that we're going to start making use of, especially here with selections, are the layers that we have over here on the right in the expert mode. We haven't really made use of them yet. Not too much, but we're really going to make use of them with selections. So I chose this photo of Kennedy because of how asymmetrical his face is. And I always wondered what it'd be like if he looked the same on both sides. So we're going to go ahead and try to do that. Easy with Photoshop. I want to select half of this image. Go right down the center and take this whole half. Just make a copy of that. Flip it over to the other side. See what Kennedy looks like. So I'm going to use the rectangular selection tool, which is perfect for this. And the way it works is I click and drag. Click and drag. Those little moving lines you see down there are called marching ants. So you see, every time I click, I get a new one. I have more options down here. Okay. New selection. Add to selection. Subtract from selection. And intersect. Intersect is something that you don't use very often, but when you need it, it's very handy. And we'll talk about that later. Let's check out. We just checked out new selection. So every single time I click, I make a new one. Add to selection, just what it says. Notice my cursor now has a little plus sign on it. If I click and drag, the first one doesn't go away. I just add to it. Okay? Subtract from selection. There's a little minus sign, just what it sounds like. Now I can subtract. I can make a hole in the center if I want. If I want to start all over again and just get rid of the selection that I have because it isn't working, what I can use is Control D for delete. I hit Control and D and it goes away. Okay, let's select the half a face of Kennedy and see what we get here. I've got the marquee tool selected. I want to select pixels all the way to the edge of this drawing. In order to do that, instead of trying to make sure I get right there on the edge, all I have to do is go off the image. Notice I'm holding down the left button, but nothing is happening until I go in. There's nothing to select out here until I go in and select on the image. And now I'm getting right up to the edge. Let's move it over. I'm still holding down my left button. There. I just bisected Kennedy's nose. Okay. Now what I need to do with this is I need to make a copy of it and I need to paste it back into this same image. That's where my layers are going to come in. The selection that I make, once I paste it back in, it's going to make a new layer all on its own. So I will use the same tools. I'm going to get off of Subtract. The same tools that you use in just about every other program. Copy would be Control C, and paste is Control V, not P. They use that for print. Alternately, you can always go up to Edit. There's Copy, Control C, and there's Paste, Control V. So let's copy. Control C. I just did a Control C, and it doesn't look like anything happened. But what it did is it took the pixels that it selected underneath this selection that I have here, and it put them in the clipboard. Now I'm going to paste that back into here, and it's going to make a new layer. So I want you to keep your eyes over there. This time I'll use Edit, Paste. Now, look what it did. It automatically, just by my pasting it, made a new layer. Called it Layer 1. And it's now, that new layer is just my new selection. Before, when we were using Red Eye and Haze, we used layers a little bit. But what we did is we made a new layer, but the new layer was always just the entire image. So remember the eyes over here? Let's turn off this one and we can see. There, the top layer is just the selection I made. I'm going to turn this one back on again. So there's a number of things I can do with this selection now. I'm going to go over here and pick my Move tool. That's the default tool. And I can click and move my selection anywhere I want. That's one thing I can do with it. I want to, remember, my goal here is to flip it and look on the other side. So there are other things I can do. I can size the selection, I can rotate it, I can flip it and do a few other things with it. All of those things together are called transforming. That's somehow transforming the selection that I made. And the hotkey for using transform would be Control T for transform. If you can't remember Control T, but that's pretty an easy one because it's T for transform. But up here under image is transform, and free transform is the thing that you want. See, Control T. Here, I'll click it right here, and it's going to give me some little handles up here for things that I can do. If I choose, now look at my cursor. If my cursor is curved like this when I'm near a corner, that means I can rotate. If my cursor up here near a corner gets the double arrow, diagonal arrow, I can change its size. I can scale it. On the side, I can go this way, top, I can go this way. And since I have messed this up completely and can't get it back again, good thing I have an option down here. Look, I've got a check mark and a cancel circle. So if I like what I did and I want to use that, I would accept it by using the check mark and committing it. Or if I want to start over again, which is what I want to do, I'm just going to cancel. And now I'm back to normal. So let's try Control T this time. There, Control T works. So we saw the things that we can do with the handles and our mouse, but there are other things. And as with so many other programs, if there's more options and you don't see them, you usually can find them if you right-click. Let's try right-clicking. There they are. Here's the rest of the options. There's scale, rotate, skew, distort, a lot of things. I can rotate, but I can rotate, a perfect 180 and then 90 degrees. But here's the one I want, flip layer horizontal. Let's click that and see what I get. That's exactly what I want. I wanted it flipped. And that's all that I want, so I'm going to accept it now. Accept it. I am still on my Move tool, so let's take it and move it over here to the right. Now it looks pretty good, but it looks like it could move a little bit in, and it's kind of hard to get it exact with my mouse. So if I am on the Move tool, my cursor is here and has the double arrows that you see right there. I'm going to use my arrow keys. Watch the image. I'm going to use the arrow keys to just nudge That's probably about where it belongs. Maybe there. So I just use arrow keys to nudge. I can move it up and down too, but there. So there we have. That's what Kennedy would look like if he was symmetrical. It's got kind of a crazy hairdo, but that's kind of what he'd look like. Okay, let's look at this marquee tool again. And this time I want to copy this left eye of Kennedy's. So I'm going to click on this elliptical marquee tool. And the way that elliptical marquee tool works is, I'm going to do it up in his hair because you can see it better. If I want a circle around here, and I click right here in the center, look what happens. It drags down. The spot that I clicked is the upper left-hand corner of the ellipse. Control D here to get rid of that. So I'll need to start up here. So there, that I can get what I want. But to be more precise, sometimes you want to use a elliptical marquee tool and you want to be able to pull or start from the center. So you can do that. I'm going to click and start. And now when I hold down Alt, watch. If I hold down Alt, my circle pulls from the center. And also, maybe I want a perfect circle. Hard to tell when I got it. If I wanted a perfect circle, I can hold down Shift, and that will force a perfect circle. Alt will force pulling from the center, and Shift will force a perfect circle. Let's Control D. What I want is this eye. I'm going to hold down Spacebar and Control and zoom in on the eye. And I want to start from here, so I'm going to hold down the Alt key. And there. Get Kennedy's eye. Now, actually, starting right from his eye, it wasn't so good. It really should be a little bit lower. I could start over again, but I can move that selection. I cannot move it with the Move tool, though. Moving, transforming selections is special, and it's not the same as moving and transforming pixels. So, a lot of the things for transforming selections are up here under the Select button, but for just moving it, look at my cursor. When I move my cursor inside that circle, it gets an arrow with a square on it. And when it has that, I can move my selection wherever I want. So I want to move my selection to there. I can only do that, though, if I am on New Selection. Because think about it. If I want to add to the selection, it's got the plus sign. It's going to add. You can't move, and the same with subtract. So if it's on New and you want to move your selection, just go inside of it and move it. All right. So let me Control C to copy. Now I got an error message. Check it out. Could not complete the copy command because no pixel selected. There's the eye right underneath the selection. But it says that there are no pixels there. Look over here in the layers. I'm going to say OK to that. Look over here with the layers. I have selected the layer 1 because it's blue. If I want to select background layer, I can click on it and it will turn blue. Layer 1 will turn blue. Whatever layer I have selected, whatever layer is active will be blue. And it is this layer. Let's turn off the bottom layer and check it out. Look, there are no pixels underneath there. If I alternately click on the background layer and press Control V, let's use Edit, Copy, made a copy. Control V, and there it is. So it did work. I'm also going to delete this because I really don't want this. Let's delete that. Okay. What I'm going to do is get a copy of both of Kennedy's eyes. Move this. Make sure I'm on the layer that has the pixels that I want to select. That's the background layer. Control C. And what I want to do is take this over here and put Kennedy's eyes on Lincoln's face. I'm going to paste it, Control V. There they are. With the move tool, I can move around. They're kind of big on here, so what do I need to do? Transform, right? Let's Control T to transform. Make them a little better size. Put them there and accept it. Now, that was fun. It looks okay, but if I actually really wanted to do this and make it look pretty good, I got a problem here. I got this really, really hard edge around the eyes. Let's go back and see what we can do. Let's go back to Kennedy, Control D, and remove my selection. All right. I'm just going to turn off the top one so I can see what I'm really getting. I'm on the background layer. And get back to this elliptical marquee. Here is another option that I have. Feather. Feather, I can move from 0 to 250, and see it says PX, it's pixels. To feather your selection, you need to do it before you make the selection. It will take the edge of your selection and the pixels, instead of abruptly having abrupt edge and disappearing right where you made it, it will gradually disappear. So let's try 8 pixels. Grab Kennedy's eyes again. I'll use this copy. Go over to Lincoln. I'm going to turn this off. And I'll use Edit Paste. Put it there. You can already see what Feather did. Let's do Control T. Whoops, did not want to do that. Control T. Make it smaller. It's still too big. There we go. Oh my God, I got the eyebrows in there too. And accept it. So that looks a lot better than, whoops. That looks a lot better than that. You know what though? What I need here, I still think they're too big. His eyes are way too big. Let's make them smaller. Perfect. Don't know who that looks like now. So that's what Feather will do.